The Awakening Fleet. The Zarthian observation post hung in the darkness of space like a forgotten trinket, its sensors sweeping lazily across the abandoned Jovian sector. Lieutenant Vex Caro stifled a yawn as he scanned the routine reports. His assignment to this backwater monitoring station was punishment for speaking out of turn during a High Council briefing, or so his commanding officer had made abundantly clear. "Anything interesting?" asked Technician Orla Nev, her six-fingered hands dancing across the neural interface. "Same as yesterday," Vex replied. "And the day before that. Dead planets orbiting a dead star that once housed a dead species." The console pinged unexpectedly. Vex straightened, his scaled brow furrowing. "That's odd. Energy signature in Quadrant 6. Faint, but definitely artificial." Orla moved to his station, her silver eyes narrowing. "Impossible. Nothing's lived in this sector since the Terran extinction event. Tell that to whatever's moving out there." For nearly 2 centuries, the galaxy had accepted the same truth. Humans were gone. The solar collapse had wiped them out, a tragic but inevitable end to a species that had just begun reaching for the stars. The remaining human colonies, cut off from Earth, had been peacefully integrated into the Galactic Concord. At least, that was the official history taught in every educational hub across 17 species. Vex adjusted the sensors, tracking the faint signature. "Sending a probe. Protocol demands investigation. Protocol also demands we notify High Command," Orla reminded him. "Let's confirm what we're looking at first." The probe's data streamed in moments later, and both Zarthians fell silent. A vessel, unmistakably of human design, was salvaging materials from an ancient defense platform. Its hull bore no illumination, no identifiable markings, moving like a phantom through the ruins. "We need to report this," Orla whispered. Vex transmitted the alert to Zarthian Command. Within hours, the Concord flagship Eternal Vigilance arrived, commanded by High Admiral Draith Vorex, a decorated veteran who had participated in the stabilization of the outer human colonies after the Earth disaster. "Show me everything," Vorex demanded, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he moved across the observation deck. The sensor feeds displayed multiple signatures now, small craft moving between asteroids and debris fields, carefully collecting specific components. "Survivors?" questioned Captain Mela Zin, Vorex's second-in-command. "Impossible," Vorex dismissed. The integration was thorough. These must be scavengers using salvaged human vessels. The Admiral ordered a confrontation squadron deployed. 3 sleek Concord interceptors surrounded the mysterious vessel, weapons charged. "Unidentified craft, this is the Galactic Concord. You are operating illegally in restricted space. Power down and prepare for boarding." No response came. Again, Vorex commanded. Before the message could be repeated, the human ship simply vanished. No jump signature, no warp distortion. It simply disappeared from all sensors. "Impossible," Vorex breathed. "No species possesses that technology." Deep in the shadows of Neptune's broken rings, Commander Juno Carvis watched the Concord vessels through the Phantom's advanced cloaking field. Her weathered face remained impassive as she activated the secure quantum channel. "They found us. Initiate Protocol Lazarus." On 15 hidden bases scattered throughout what once was human space, ancient systems hummed to life. In underground bunkers on Mars, Europa, and Titan, massive generators powered up for the first time in generations. Beneath the ruined surface of Earth itself, sealed chambers began their awakening sequence. Juno turned to her executive officer, Tarek Way, his features illuminated by the soft blue glow of the console. "How long until the Concord realizes what's happening?" "Not long," he answered, his artificial eyes glinting. "But by then, it won't matter." 2 days later, Admiral Vorex stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, staring at the holographic display of Ceres, a dwarf planet in the old Sol system, long since stripped of resources and abandoned. Something was happening beneath its cratered surface. Energy readings were spiking beyond anything their instruments could properly measure. "What am I looking at, Science Officer?" Lieutenant Ezra Nade's tentacles trembled slightly as she responded. "The energy signature matches no known technology in the Concord database, Admiral. It's old, incredibly old, but impossibly powerful." The surface of Ceres fractured like an eggshell. From within its rocky heart, a massive shape began to emerge, a warship of staggering proportions. Its hull was scarred, pitted with ancient battle damage, but unmistakably intact. Colossal weapon arrays lined its flanks, and emblazoned across its bow was a name that sent chills through every Concord officer who recognized the human script: Retribution. Alert all Concord forces. Vorex barked. We have a class 1 security breach. Before his orders could be relayed, the ancient human dreadnought powered up its weapons. No ultimatum was issued, no warning given. A beam of concentrated energy sliced through space and cut a Concord cruiser in half as effortlessly as a blade through vapor. Impossible, Vorex whispered for the 3rd time that day. Our shields didn't register the attack at all, sir, Captain Zen reported, her voice quavering. Whatever that weapon is, it bypassed all defensive systems. The Retribution wasn't alone. Across the Sol system, other massive vessels were emerging from secret bunkers, hidden asteroid bases, and gas giant moons. Each bore similar scars, each radiated the same incomprehensible power. Aboard the Retribution, Grand Marshal Eliana Thorne stood at the central command hub, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun, her uniform bearing insignia not seen in galactic space for centuries. Signal the fleet, she ordered, voice calm despite the weight of the moment. Formation Delta. Target only military vessels. Let the civilians retreat, they'll carry our message. Her second, Vice Marshal Nikolai Volkov, a bear of a man with cybernetic implants covering half his face, nodded solemnly. The Ghost Fleet awakens, Marshal. Just as we planned. 173 years, Eliana said softly. That's how long we've waited. That's how long we've remembered. The Concord forces never stood a chance. Their weapons barely scratched the ancient human warships, while each return volley obliterated a Concord vessel. Within 30 minutes, Admiral Vorex's fleet was reduced to the flagship and 2 escorts. Retreat, he ordered, all pretense of courage abandoned. Back to Concord space. As the Eternal Vigilance prepared to jump, a transmission cut through all encryption, all security protocols, broadcasting directly to the bridge. A human woman's face appeared on every screen, Eliana Thorne, though Vorex didn't know her name. Her eyes held no malice, which somehow made her words more terrifying. You thought us extinct. You built your peace upon our graves. You erased our colonies, harvested our technologies, and taught the galaxy that we were a footnote in history. She leaned forward slightly. We never died. We remembered. We waited. And now, we've returned. The transmission ended. The surviving Concord ships fled, jumping to safety, carrying news that would shatter the galactic status quo. On the outer colonies, on worlds where humans had been peacefully integrated, sleeper cells activated. Hidden bunkers opened. Humans who had lived as second-class citizens under alien rule suddenly revealed weapons and technology far beyond anything their oppressors possessed. The Zendari overseer of Proxima Centauri, a former human colony, was midway through his morning address when the ground beneath the administrative plaza began to tremble. The massive statue commemorating peaceful integration toppled as the earth split open. From the chasm rose a human battle platform, dormant for generations, but now fully operational. Similar scenes played out across a dozen worlds simultaneously. No declarations of war, no diplomatic channels, just the sudden, synchronized return of a power the galaxy had convinced itself was broken forever. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Concord on Arcturus Prime, emergency sessions dissolved into chaos as reports flooded in from all sectors. Supreme Chancellor Voss Tafe, a veteran politician known for unflappable composure, sat in stunned silence as advisors shouted over one another. How is this possible? Demanded the Rigelian ambassador. Humans were primitive when we found them. Their technology was centuries behind ours. The ancient Dralid historian, Kenoth Vex, whose species had observed galactic politics for millennia, spoke quietly, but all fell silent to hear him. We believed what we wanted to believe, he said. We documented the humans' destruction, categorized their remnants, and congratulated ourselves on managing the crisis. But we never asked why a species known for their tenacity would surrender so completely. He closed his 4 eyes briefly. We mistook their silence for extinction. It seems it was merely preparation. Beyond the chamber windows, the skies above Arcturus Prime filled with ships as civilians from across the Concord fled the advancing human fleet. The Grand Alliance that had maintained peace for centuries was fracturing in real time, united only by a single, terrible question. The reckoning. The Grand Council chamber of the Valar Dominion had never known such disorder. High Chancellor Draz Vorn slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor, the sound echoing through the vaulted space as delegates from 17 systems shouted over one another. "Order," he commanded. "This chaos serves no one." The chamber quieted reluctantly. Draz surveyed the assembled representatives, noting the fear that transcended species and political allegiance. 3 days had passed since humanity's return, and the galaxy was fracturing along new fault lines. "The humans have reclaimed 6 major systems," reported Admiral Kinthraxis, his holographic form flickering with interference, likely from human signal disruption. "Their technological capabilities exceed anything in our current arsenal. Our analysts believe they've been advancing in secret for generations." "How is that possible?" demanded Counselor Thelamir of the Proxima colonies. "We monitored all known human settlements." "All known settlements," corrected Director Loris Vex of Dominion Intelligence. The gaunt, pale official tapped his datapad, projecting a galaxy map. Red markers indicated confirmed human activity. "We now believe humans maintain deep space habitats in these regions, locations deliberately left off navigation charts, shrouded by natural phenomena that interfere with standard scanning." The delegates murmured as the extent of human preparation became clear. "What do they want?" asked a junior representative from the Outer Rim. Draz's expression hardened. "They've made only one formal demand, a full accounting of the decisions made during the solar collapse." The chamber fell silent. Many present knew what that meant, though few had been in power when those decisions were made. "Chancellor," Admiral Raxus spoke carefully, "perhaps transparency is the wisest course. If we provide the records." "Absolutely not," interrupted High General Malathrix, her ceremonial armor clattering as she rose. "Those records are classified under the Arcturus Protocol. Releasing them would destabilize the entire Dominion." "The humans know," Draz said quietly, his voice somehow carrying to every corner of the chamber. "That's the point. They already have the evidence. They want us to acknowledge it publicly." Across the galaxy on the reclaimed human colony of Proxima Centauri B, Marshal Eliana Thorne walked through streets she had only seen in historical archives. The Zendari administration buildings were being dismantled, their materials repurposed. Human settlers, descendants of those who had endured generations of occupation, worked alongside military personnel from the awakened fleet. Vice Marshal Volkov approached, tablet in hand. "The Rigelian Confederation has requested neutral zone talks. The Arcturian Assembly has officially acknowledged human sovereignty over all previously held territories. The smaller powers are falling in line." "And the Valar Dominion?" Eliana asked. "Still debating internally," Volkov reported. "Our intelligence suggests a significant faction wants to launch a preemptive strike while we're still re-establishing control." Eliana nodded toward a nearby building where a centuries-old human cultural center was being restored. "They still don't understand what they're facing." "They will," Volkov promised grimly. Director Darius Cater approached, his usual composed demeanor troubled. "Marshal, we've intercepted concerning communications. The Valar are moving their doomsday weapon." Eliana's eyes narrowed. "The Helios Protocol?" "Yes. The same experimental weapon that caused our sun's destabilization. They've perfected it over the centuries. Target? Unknown. But they're mobilizing their elite guard to transport it from the Vega Vault." Eliana was silent for a moment, memories of humanity's darkest day flashing through her mind. The desperate evacuations, the billions lost, the betrayal by supposed allies. Then she tapped her neural interface. "All command staff, Priority Alpha. The Helios Protocol is in motion." Throughout human space, commanders received the alert. Ships that had been methodically reclaiming territories suddenly changed course. The carefully orchestrated return of humanity was entering its next phase. In the Vega system, aboard the Valar superdreadnought Immutable Truth, High General Thrix supervised the loading of a nondescript black cylinder, a container that belied the apocalyptic power it contained. "Transfer at 60%, reported Security Chief Zaltarn. Estimated completion in." The ship rocked violently. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Report," Thrix demanded. "Multiple human vessels." Tarn shouted over the chaos. "They just appeared. No jump signatures, no warp distortion. They're everywhere." The human ghost fleet had arrived, not just a battle group, but a full armada. At its center was the Retribution, flanked by 2 equally massive warships, Remembrance and Requiem. From the Retribution's command deck, Marshal Thorne addressed the Valor fleet directly. "This is Marshal Eliana Thorne of the Human Restoration Force. You are transporting a weapon of mass destruction developed in violation of the Treaty of Barnard's Star. Power down your vessels and prepare for boarding." High General Thrix's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. "This is sovereign Dominion space. Your presence is an act of war." "The war began 2 centuries ago," Eliana replied evenly, "when you tested your solar destabilizer on our home system." Thrix's eyes widened. "That was an accident." "No," Eliana cut her off. "It wasn't. We have the records, General. Your own scientist reports, the Dominion Council's deliberations, the calculated decision to blame natural phenomena rather than accept responsibility. We have it all." Aboard the Immutable Truth, Thrix gestured frantically to her communications officer to cut the transmission. "Launch all fighters. Target the human flagship." The Valor fleet responded with disciplined precision, fighter squadrons deploying in combat formation, while capital ships moved to protective positions around the Immutable Truth. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an impressive show of force. Against the human ghost fleet, it was futile. The ancient human warships didn't employ standard tactics. They didn't form battle lines or focus fire on key targets. Instead, they seemed to phase in and out of conventional space, appearing where they were least expected, weapons firing with devastating accuracy. Aboard the Remembrance, Commander Julian Reeves, a 10th-generation survivor of Earth's fall, directed the assault with cold efficiency. "Target their propulsion systems," he ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." The human weapons were unlike anything the current galactic powers had developed, not just more powerful, but fundamentally different in approach. Rather than overwhelm enemy shields with brute force, they simply bypassed them, targeting vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Within minutes, half the Valor fleet hung dead in space. The Immutable Truth attempted to jump to safety, but found its drive systems unresponsive. "Why?" demanded Thrix's human boarding craft attached to her vessel's hull. "Why wait centuries to return?" The answer came as the first human soldiers breached the command deck, not in armored combat suits as expected, but wearing simple uniforms that seemed ceremonial rather than practical. Their leader, a weathered woman with stark white hair, approached Thrix. "I am Commander Freya Takashi, descendant of the Tokyo Exodus," she announced. "I am here for the Helios Protocol." "You can't have it," Thrix snarled. "This weapon is the Dominion's ultimate defense." Freya's expression remained neutral. "It's not a weapon. It's evidence." Throughout the ship, human forces secured key systems with minimal resistance. Unlike the Valor's expectations, they took no lives unless absolutely necessary, instead systematically disabling opposition and securing strategic objectives. In the cargo hold, specialist teams located the black cylinder. With reverent care, they transferred it to a specialized containment vessel. "Package secured," Freya reported via Neuralink. Returning to Retribution. As the human forces withdrew with their prize, Thrix was left with a functioning but crippled flagship and a devastating realization: the humans could have destroyed them utterly, but chose not to. High General Thrix's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. "This is sovereign Dominion space. Your presence is an act of war." "The war began 2 centuries ago," Eliana replied evenly, "when you tested your solar destabilizer on our home system." Thrix's eyes widened. "That was an accident." "No," Eliana cut her off. "It wasn't. We have the records, General. Your own scientist reports, the Dominion Council's deliberations, the calculated decision to blame natural phenomena rather than accept responsibility. We have it all." Aboard the Immutable Truth, Thrix gestured frantically to her communications officer to cut the transmission. "Launch all fighters. Target the human flagship." The Valor fleet responded with disciplined precision, fighter squadrons deploying in combat formation while capital ships moved to protective positions around the Immutable Truth. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an impressive show of force. Against the human ghost fleet, it was futile. The ancient human warships didn't employ standard tactics. They didn't form battle lines or focus fire on key targets. Instead, they seemed to phase in and out of conventional space, appearing where they were least expected, weapons firing with devastating accuracy. Aboard the Remembrance, Commander Julian Reeves, a 10th-generation survivor of Earth's fall, directed the assault with cold efficiency. "Target their propulsion systems," he ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. The human weapons were unlike anything the current galactic powers had developed, not just more powerful, but fundamentally different in approach. Rather than overwhelm enemy shields with brute force, they simply bypassed them, targeting vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Within minutes, half the Valor fleet hung dead in space. The immutable Truth attempted to jump to safety, but found its drive systems unresponsive. Why? Demanded Thrix's human boarding craft attached to her vessel's hull. Why wait centuries to return? The answer came as the first human soldiers breached the command deck, not in armored combat suits as expected, but wearing simple uniforms that seemed ceremonial rather than practical. Their leader, a weathered woman with stark white hair, approached Thrix. "I am Commander Freya Takashi, descendant of the Tokyo Exodus," she announced. "I am here for the Helios Protocol." "You can't have it," Thrix snarled. "This weapon is the Dominion's ultimate defense." Freya's expression remained neutral. "It's not a weapon. It's evidence." Throughout the ship, human forces secured key systems with minimal resistance. Unlike the Valor's expectations, they took no lives unless absolutely necessary, instead systematically disabling opposition and securing strategic objectives. In the cargo hold, specialist teams located the black cylinder. With reverent care, they transferred it to a specialized containment vessel. Package secured, Freya reported via neural link. Returning to retribution. As the human forces withdrew with their prize, Thrix was left with a functioning but crippled flagship and a devastating realization. The humans could have destroyed them utterly, but chose not to. That was perhaps the most terrifying truth of all. On Arcturus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Concord, Supreme Chancellor Vos Taith faced an unprecedented situation. Representatives from 16 major powers had gathered for an emergency session, and for the first time in centuries, humans were among them. Marshal Eliana Thorne entered the Grand Chamber not as a supplicant but as an equal. Behind her walked Vice Marshal Volkov and Director Kater, along with Commander Takashi. Their presence commanded silence. Chancellor Taith cleared his throat. "The Concord recognizes the representative of the Human Restoration Force. The United Terran Alliance," Eliana corrected. "We never disbanded. We never surrendered. We simply waited." She approached the central podium, activating a holographic display. Above the assembled dignitaries appeared the black cylinder retrieved from the Valor ship. "This is the Helios Protocol, the weapon that destroyed our sun and forced humanity to the brink of extinction. Developed by the Valor Dominion, approved by the Concord Security Council, and employed as a test against what was deemed a minimal risk target, the Sol System." Shouts of denial erupted from the Valor delegation. Delegations from other powers shifted uncomfortably. Eliana continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We have brought it here not as a threat, but as evidence for all to witness." With a gesture, she activated the cylinder. Instead of a weapons discharge, it projected records, internal communications, classified reports, council decisions, all bearing appropriate authentication codes and timestamps. 200 years ago, the leaders of the galactic community made a choice. They saw humanity's rapid advancement as a threat to the established order. When the opportunity arose to eliminate that threat while testing a new weapon, they took it. The evidence was irrefutable. The deliberate targeting of Sol. The decision to quarantine rather than evacuate. The systematic dismantling of human colonies under the guise of integration. The distribution of salvaged human technology among Concord powers. Perhaps most damning were the projected population models showing how humanity would be effectively extinct within 5 generations under the imposed conditions. "Yet here we stand," Eliana said into the stunned silence. "Because some of us escaped your net. Because we remembered. Because we refused to die." Chancellor Taith's voice trembled slightly. "What does humanity want? Vengeance? To destroy what we've built?" Eliana's expression softened slightly. "If vengeance were our goal, Chancellor, this chamber would be ashes. We have had the power to obliterate your civilizations for decades. We chose another path." She deactivated the Helios Protocol cylinder and addressed the assembly. "Humanity demands 3 things: acknowledgement of the truth, restoration of all territories that were once ours, and a seat at the table, not as supplicants, but as equals." The Zarthian representative rose. "And if we refuse? Then we withdraw," Eliana said simply. "We take our worlds, our technology, our knowledge, and we leave you to your devices. But know this, we will be watching. And should any power ever again develop weapons capable of star killing, we will not wait 2 centuries to respond." The implicit threat hung in the air. Chancellor Taith consulted briefly with his advisors, then squared his shoulders. The Concord acknowledges the injustice done to humanity. We accept your terms and welcome the United Terran Alliance as full members of the galactic community. One by one, other powers voiced their agreement, some enthusiastically, others with clear reluctance. When it came to the Valar Dominion's turn, High Chancellor Draz Vorn stood, his ancient face lined with conflicting emotions. The sins of our ancestors cannot be undone, he said slowly. But perhaps they can be atoned for. The Dominion acknowledges its role in humanity's suffering and accepts the terms offered. 3 days later, on the newly established neutral station orbiting the reconstructed jump gate at Barnard's Star, Marshal Eliana Thorne met privately with Chancellor Taith and Chancellor Vorn. You could have conquered us all, Taith observed. Your technology clearly surpasses anything we possess. Why didn't you? Eliana gazed out the viewport at the stars. The same stars her ancestors had seen before the collapse. The same stars generations of hidden humans had sworn to reclaim. Because conquest wasn't our purpose, she answered. Survival was. Memory was. Justice was. She turned to face them. Humanity spent 2 centuries in the shadows, building, planning, remembering. We could have become monsters, focused only on revenge. Many wanted that path. What stopped you? Vorn asked. We remembered something else as well. What humanity was striving for before the collapse. Connection. Discovery. Growth. If we had returned only to destroy, we would have betrayed those ideals. Taith nodded slowly. So what happens now? Now, Eliana said, her expression lightening slightly. We rebuild together. Humanity has developed technologies in our isolation that could benefit all species. Medical advancements, sustainable energy solutions, faster-than-light communications that don't rely on jump gates. You would share these? Vorn asked, clearly surprised. With appropriate safeguards, yes. That was always our way, before your predecessors decided we were a threat. And the Ghost Fleet? Taith inquired cautiously. Eliana's smile held a hint of steel. We'll remain vigilant. Trust must be earned, Chancellor. As the formal treaty signing approached, Eliana took a moment alone in her quarters aboard the Retribution. On her desk sat a small holographic projector, a family heirloom passed down through 7 generations. She activated it, revealing the image of a young woman in an old Earth uniform, standing before a hastily evacuated transport during the darkest days of the collapse. Her ancestor, Captain Lyra Thorne, who had commanded the last ship to escape Earth, carrying the seeds of humanity's rebirth. We made it, Eliana whispered to the image. We remembered. We returned. A chime at her door announced Vice Marshal Volkov. It's time, Marshal. Together they walked to the diplomatic shuttle that would take them to the signing ceremony, the official recognition of humanity's rightful place in the galaxy. Do you think they understand yet? Volkov asked quietly as they boarded. Understand what? That we're not just reclaiming our past. We're securing everyone's future. He looked out at the assembled fleet, the ancient warships now joined by newer vessels as hidden human settlements emerged throughout the galaxy. The next threat might not come from within. The universe is vast and mostly unknown. Eliana nodded, remembering the other reason humanity had preserved its strength during the long exile, the deep space signals their advanced sensors had detected, far beyond the galaxy's edge. Signals no other species had the technology to notice yet. One step at a time, Nikolai, she said. First, we make peace with our neighbors. Then, together, we prepare for whatever lies beyond. The shuttle departed the Retribution, carrying humanity's representatives to formalize their return, not just as survivors or conquerors, but as guardians of a galactic peace built on truth rather than convenience. The ancient warships remained in formation, a reminder of humanity's resolve and the power that came not just from advanced technology, but from the will to endure. In the hearts of every human who had lived through the long exile, a single truth burned brighter than any star. They had not just survived. They had prevailed. And whatever challenges the universe might yet hold, humanity would face them standing tall, remembered, restored, and ready.